Amazon has had a banner year with the rise in online sales, of course, due to COVID, expanding warehouse operations and adding to its network of distribution centers across the country. While consumers love low prices and fast delivery, Amazon's growing influence from small towns to the halls of power in Washington, D.C. have changed nearly every aspect of American life. Alec McGillis, an award-winning journalist at ProPublica, writes about the rise of Amazon in his new book, Fulfillment: Winning and Losing in One-Click America. Alec, welcome to the show. Now, you set out to write a book about the growing disparities between certain big cities and smaller rural communities across the country. How did Amazon come to represent what you wanted to say about the changing forces in America?
Yeah, I've been wanting to write about these disparities for quite a while now, just these incredible gaps that have been growing between sort of winner-take-all cities and left-behind cities and towns in our country. And it's a gap that's really not healthy for either set of cities, really. Everything's kind of off kilter. And I just settled on Amazon for two reasons. One is that Amazon is now just so ubiquitous in our country that it's a very handy thread to kind of take you around America and what we're becoming today, sort of how we live on a daily basis. The company's just everywhere you turn. So it's a good metaphor for the country right now. But it's also a handy frame for this story of inequality because it has itself contributed to these disparities.
And Amazon corporate spokesperson Jay Carney has responded to your book in a letter to the New York Times, saying in part, the book somehow casts Amazon in the role of villain, ignoring the fact that Amazon has been a positive force in the U.S. economy, creating 400,000 much-needed jobs last year alone. The truth is that Amazon has helped lift communities across this country with industry-leading pay and benefits, including a starting wage of at least $15 an hour, and invested billions in COVID-related initiatives to keep employees safe and deliver for our communities. What's your response to the fact that Amazon has done more than many large employers that don't pay that $15 living wage and who were cutting jobs during the pandemic?
Well, I think it's important to put things in the broader context. First of all, as far as all those jobs that were created, it's true. It was extraordinary last year, their growth, 400,000 new jobs in this country, mostly in warehouses. But we have to keep in mind what those jobs have replaced. Those jobs have replaced hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of brick and mortar retail jobs. One of the biggest job loss categories in the country in recent years has been the retail salesperson. And so in a sense, we've replaced one sort of retail work with another work. Then as far as the pay goes, it's true. Amazon did raise the pay from 13 or 14 an hour to 15 an hour a couple years ago. But it's more or less stayed at that level since then. They took away the $2 bump that they gave for the pandemic. Early in the pandemic, they added a $2 bump for workers. They took that away just a few months later. And you have to think about what these pay levels are being compared to. $15 an hour is certainly more than a fast food job. It's more than minimum wage. But it's actually less than a lot of other warehouse jobs pay these days. It's less than some of the retail jobs that these warehouse jobs have replaced. And it's also less than the sort of assembly line work that this warehouse work often resembles in its very sort of physical, taxing nature. Fact is, if these jobs were as good and well paid as the company claims, you wouldn't see 100% turnover at a lot of their warehouses the way that one does. People just don't stay at these jobs very long.
And we saw this week that retail union has gone to the NLRB and accused Amazon of illegally interfering with efforts by warehouse workers in Bessemer, Alabama to unionize. Union leaders contend that Amazon threatened workers with layoffs and even closing the warehouse if the union vote passed. Now, Amazon denies this and says that the union is misrepresenting the facts. While this union vote is about one Alabama warehouse, you've said that it's a sign of a bigger problem for American labor, as you describe in the book. How so?
Well, yeah, the stakes are so large in fights like the one in Alabama. The fact is that the more that Amazon grows, the faster that it grows, the more that it really kind of comes to define working class labor in this country. I mean, it used to be that if you were looking for a job, you didn't have a college degree, didn't have any specialized training, you would maybe go down to the steel mill, to the factory, or to the shopping mall to get a job. Now, increasingly, you go to the warehouse. This has become the sort of the dominant space for sort of entry-level labor in this country. So if you want to lift up a whole swath of sort of service-level jobs in this country and make them more sustainable, make them something that people could actually raise a family on and have a career at, you really have to really focus on the warehouses because they are sort of what work now is today in America.
And you've spent years working on this story, so you clearly understand the effect of Amazon's dominance. So I'm curious how you reconcile this with your own personal behavior. Do you shop at Amazon?
I do, as a sort of a last resort. I don't rule it out entirely. And I don't suggest that people do rule it out entirely. It's certainly for some people, it's a convenience. Things you can't find elsewhere. You need something real quick. What I do believe, though, is that coming off this past year, where we embraced the one-click approach to our daily life so entirely with such extremity because of the pandemic, that comes at a real cost for our communities, both the local businesses, the local tax base, just the really sort of the daily civic life of the places we live in. And it does seem very important that we now, coming out of the pandemic, that we're able to return to our actual towns and cities that we live in, return to the physical world around us, both with our shopping and also with our, going back to theater, going to the movies, not just being on Netflix, really kind of get back into the places we live and sort of patronize all the things that make the towns and cities we live in special and sort of get out of our hunkering down.
Alec McGillis, your book, Fulfillment, Winning and Losing in One-Click America, is available now. We thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.